how to reset a negative thought, i.e., when you convince yourself you can't or shouldn't be doing something because it scares you, so you can actually go back to the problem and go through it. The obstacle is the way style. So first, tell me what you understood, then I'll tell you what I understood from the question, because it was a bit difficult to understand, right?
Yeah, so I guess the question is you're trying to do something. The negative thought. So how I understand it is basically you're procrastinating on doing something, or you're not taking action because of fear. Is that was that what you see here as too?
That's pretty much what I understood. Like, you know, how, like the resistance basically was,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I understood. Like, how do you overcome the resistance when your mental monologue is saying you can't do this and it's not
Right.
for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. What stands out to me in this is the phrase, reset a negative thought, which implies, resistance. So there's the negative thought or the negative thought loop, thought pattern that comes up, and you're essentially asking, how do I get rid of this? How do I not do this? How do I reset to a state of not having the negative thoughts, that kind of thing. And this is intuitive, right? It makes sense. You experience a negative thing, you go, oh, I'd like to not experience this, right? How do I get rid of the negative thing? But unfortunately, that is usually exactly what makes it persist. So the attempt to push away or deny or think about something else when it comes to negative thoughts and negative emotions is exactly what amplifies the problem. And this is where I would apply shadow work, essentially, which is confronting it and experiencing the negative thing, and basically not trying to push it away and not wishing it away, right? And instead experiencing it and letting it be. But again, it's the question is not 100% clear. Right? It's not that clear. But if we are right in our interpretation that's kind of a fear-based thing, then what I would suggest that next time this happens is that you notice the negativity starting to occur and you sit with it and you start. So let's say the simplest shadow work practice would be, what does this feel like? So fear comes up. The symptom you're noticing is these negative thoughts, which, like you were saying, might be, oh, you can't do this, you're going to fail, you're the worst, something like that, right? And then you go, okay, let's sit with this and experience this and see what else is here. In a way, it's the opposite of pushing it away. It's you pay closer attention to it. And a good pathway into like diving into that experience is to pay attention to your physical body. See, where in my body am I feeling this? How does my body feel right now? And that can be useful because you can also get stuck in like just a thought loop, right? Where you can maybe, depending on what your mental habits are, you might be able to sit there with like self-abusive thoughts going for like hours, but it doesn't lead anywhere. But if you go, okay, how does this feel in my body? Where am I feeling this? Or maybe you feel, a constriction in your chest. Maybe you feel like nervousness. Maybe you feel whatever. But you start tuning into, what is my physical experience of this fear and this nervousness and this whatever the feelings are that come up, and you allow that to happen. What usually happens is that even if you, like, with no further attempts made, these experiences rise and fall. Okay, and that's the basic idea of what you discover when you do mindfulness practices. When you do mindfulness meditation, you notice that thoughts arise and then fade away, and thoughts arise and fade away, and that just happens forever until you die. And similarly, and the attempt of pushing thoughts away, it's like, oh, I shouldn't think, my mind should be clear. It's like, that doesn't work, does it? you just yeah, exactly. If anything, it just kind of makes the whole thing more neurotic. Whereas if you just acknowledge, yeah, this just keeps happening, it's fine. And it's the same with your emotions. Your emotions arise and fade away and arise and fade away and arise and fade away. And they will do that forever. Or, well, again, until you die, basically. And so if you let this thing happen, you will probably find that it basically passes more quickly. You can let the thing pass through you. And then you're like, well, now before, like a minute ago, it felt like I'm so afraid I can't possibly do this. Oh my God, it's impossible. And then, it reaches a crest, and then it just starts fading away. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, I might as well do it now, and it's not guaranteed that that's the experience you'll have, but it's worth trying, because it is the act of trying not to feel the fear, of trying to deny it and push it away, that kind of almost, it keeps you at the beginning part of the wave, right? So it never, the fear never rises any higher, but it also never goes any lower. You're just like floating at like this base level of fear, right? And so that's what I would try here. That's the basic, the basic idea, and the important idea here is, don't try to deny it, don't try to push it away, accept that this is happening, and realize that, just like we were saying, you don't need to feel motivation before you do something. You also don't need to be unafraid before you do something. You don't need to be, you don't need to feel ready before you do something. Like, you're capable of doing something. You're capable of making a plan and doing it, even under the worst of circumstances, which I think is also part of kind of becoming a stronger implementer, becoming a professional. Is like, listen, something I'm good at, I can do on my best day, I can do it on my worst day, I can do it when I'm motivated, I can do it when I'm not motivated, I can do it when I'm sad, I can do it when I'm happy. I don't need to be in the ideal state to do the thing, right? And so yeah, basically, for me, that's how it is. Like, if I'm speaking, let's say, it really doesn't matter if I'm super afraid. Maybe it's the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. Maybe I feel really, I feel like, oh my God, my presentation is not good enough, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do it anyway, right? You don't need to be in a positive state to do the thing.
Yeah, it comes back to what you were saying earlier about Icario is like a passion project for you, right? And even now, like, there are days when you're not motivated.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my God, I got to do this. It's a drag.
Yeah, and you do it anyway. I mean, and that's, again, because I believe that's what you need to do. It's like a requisite for success is, like, you need to have that level of professionalism. Yeah. And so it's like, sure, some days I love it, some days I hate it, many days are neutral, but it doesn't matter. You just show up and you do the thing.
Yeah, and like the exercise example you gave earlier, you just practice the act of doing it when you don't feel like it, right? And you get better at it, and you eventually enjoy that as well.
Yeah. Well, and the other aspect of it is also that you learn that you're not, you don't overly identify with the feeling, because especially negative emotions are like that. A negative emotion will suggest to you that it is absolutely important, This fear is so important. Like, this is the only thing that matters. Oh my God, I'm so afraid. I can't this, that, and the other. But you can learn to become less identified with it and just be like, oh, fear is happening right now. That's just one of the things that's going on in my body. Just like, look, it's kind of like this. It's like, maybe you eat something that doesn't agree with you very well, and you have like an uncomfortable feeling in your stomach, but you can still work, right? And you can start seeing an emotion like that as well, rather than it being like, oh my God, this bagel I had is making my stomach feel slightly weird. I give up, right? Let me just lie down and give up. It's like, no, actually it's fine. I can work with like slight discomfort in my stomach. And similarly, like this emotion, oh yeah, this emotion is churning around in my body. It's fine. I can still do the thing.
Like, I can't life right now. I need a break. Fair enough. And just to add to the shadow work thing, right? You've done workshops in the community. So if you're not already in the community, it's icario.com/join, and you'll be able to find, if you just search it, like shadow workshop, there's 3 of them, and they're absolutely excellent to guide you through this.
Yeah. So if you want, very practical how to do shadow work, we've got it in like 3 levels, from very mild to not very mild.
To face all your fears at once.